The paradox of intelligence. Intelligence, often measured through academic success, is commonly equated with good decision-making. However, this book highlights the intelligence trap, a paradox where highly intelligent individuals are prone to errors in reasoning and judgment. This occurs because intelligence often fosters overconfidence and cognitive biases. Instead of protecting against mistakes, it can magnify them. Nobel laureate Linus Pauling, for example, became a staunch advocate for the unproven benefits of vitamin C, despite lacking scientific evidence. His intellect in chemistry did not protect him from confirmation bias. This story sets the stage for understanding how intelligence alone is not enough for sound decision-making. The introduction sets the stage for the book's exploration of how intelligence can be undermined by overconfidence, motivated reasoning, and cognitive biases. Robson emphasizes that intelligence, when untethered from critical thinking, emotional balance, and intellectual humility, can amplify errors rather than mitigate them. True wisdom, he argues, lies in cultivating intellectual virtues and applying knowledge judiciously. The overconfidence effect. Intelligent individuals may become overly reliant on their cognitive abilities, leading to a sense of invulnerability and neglecting the need to double-check their assumptions. The complexity bias. Smart people often favor intricate explanations over simpler, more plausible ones, assuming complexity equates to correctness. Motivated reasoning. High intelligence can be wielded to justify pre-existing beliefs rather than uncovering objective truths. Blind spots in knowledge. Intelligent individuals may fail to recognize gaps in their understanding, often overlooking alternative perspectives. Wisdom versus intelligence. Robson distinguishes between raw intellect and the broader, more practical application of knowledge characterized by wisdom. He argues for the integration of emotional regulation, humility, and ethical reasoning to complement analytical thinking. Great intelligence is no safeguard against error. The myth of the smart fool. Highly intelligent people are often adept at rationalizing their beliefs rather than questioning them. This chapter explores how cognitive biases such as confirmation bias can thrive even in brilliant minds. Intelligence does not automatically lead to better judgment. It can sometimes exacerbate flawed reasoning. Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, is a striking example. Despite crafting one of the most logical fictional characters, Doyle believed in the Cottingley fairies, photographs later revealed to be hoaxes. Doyle's intelligence allowed him to construct elaborate justifications for his belief, illustrating how intellect can amplify errors. Robson explains that intelligent individuals often fall into the smart fool trap due to a lack of intellectual humility. This humility is essential for recognizing the limits of one's knowledge and for maintaining openness to alternative perspectives. Without it, even brilliant minds can become ensnared by their own cognitive biases. Confirmation bias. The tendency to seek and prioritize information that supports existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. The role of motivated reasoning. Using one's intelligence to defend pre-existing beliefs rather than seeking objective truth. Overconfidence and the blind spot. Intelligent people often fail to recognize their cognitive blind spots, assuming they are less prone to error than others. Robson emphasizes that cultivating intellectual humility and actively questioning one's own beliefs are critical to avoiding these pitfalls. Recognizing that intelligence does not equate to infallibility is the first step toward smarter, more reflective thinking. It takes humility to admit that intelligence doesn't equate to infallibility. Why intelligence fails. Robson examines the limitations of analytical intelligence, particularly in emotionally charged or uncertain situations. Intelligence often relies on logic and reason, but real-world decisions frequently require emotional and social considerations. One vivid example comes from the world of finance. Despite their analytical prowess, many Wall Street investors succumb to fear and greed during market panics. Robson explains how emotional impulses can override rational thought, even in highly intelligent individuals. Emotional regulation, therefore, becomes a critical component of effective decision-making. The chapter also delves into heuristics, mental shortcuts that can lead to cognitive errors. Robson highlights that while heuristics are useful in simplifying complex decisions, they can also lead to systematic mistakes when left unchecked. The influence of emotions. Even highly intelligent people can make irrational decisions when emotions like fear or greed dominate their thinking. Emotional regulation. Effective decision-making requires the ability to manage emotional impulses and maintain focus on rational analysis. Robson argues that overcoming these limitations requires more than just intelligence, it demands emotional regulation and self-awareness. He highlights the importance of practices like mindfulness and reflective thinking to help individuals recognize and counteract emotional and cognitive biases. By learning to identify the forces that cloud judgment, even the most intelligent individuals can improve their decision-making processes. The brightest minds can make the darkest mistakes when emotions run unchecked. Clever but clueless. This chapter delves into the Dunning-Kruger effect, where individuals overestimate their competence in areas outside their expertise. Robson explains that intelligence can lead to overconfidence, particularly when people assume their skills are transferable across domains. A striking example comes from the 2008 financial crisis. Many financial experts, confident in their sophisticated models, dismissed early warnings about unsustainable practices. Their intellectual arrogance prevented them from seeing their blind spots, ultimately contributing to one of the most devastating economic downturns in modern history. This serves as a powerful reminder that even the brightest minds are fallible when overconfidence goes unchecked. Robson also explores how overconfidence can hinder learning and personal growth. When individuals are too assured of their knowledge, they may resist feedback or neglect seeking advice from others. This resistance creates an echo chamber, reinforcing errors and limiting opportunities for improvement. To counteract these tendencies, Robson emphasizes the importance of intellectual humility, the willingness to acknowledge the limits of one's knowledge and to remain open to alternative viewpoints. He suggests practices like actively seeking diverse perspectives, inviting constructive criticism, and fostering a mindset of continuous learning. Overconfidence blinds us to our blind spots. The perils of knowledge. Expertise can create blind spots through cognitive entrenchment, where individuals become overly reliant on established frameworks and struggle to adapt to new information. This rigidity is particularly dangerous in rapidly changing environments. Robson uses the Challenger Space Shuttle disaster as a case study. Engineers at NASA dismissed warnings about O-ring vulnerabilities in cold temperatures because their protocols deemed such failures unlikely. Their cognitive entrenchment and unwillingness to consider alternative interpretations led to catastrophic consequences. The chapter underscores the importance of intellectual flexibility, defined as the ability to reevaluate and revise beliefs when presented with new evidence. This adaptability is vital not only for experts, but for anyone navigating complex, unpredictable situations. Robson also discusses how organizations and individuals can foster flexibility through practices such as questioning assumptions, embracing uncertainty, and encouraging diverse perspectives. By remaining open to alternative viewpoints and maintaining a willingness to change course, individuals can avoid the trap of cognitive entrenchment and make better, more informed decisions. The weight of knowledge can anchor us in error. Intellectual virtues. Robson introduces intellectual virtues such as curiosity, humility, and open-mindedness as tools for avoiding the intelligence trap. These traits enable individuals to approach problems with adaptability and a willingness to learn from mistakes. The chapter highlights Charles Darwin as a model of intellectual humility. Darwin actively sought evidence that could disprove his theories, ensuring that his conclusions were robust and unbiased. By embracing doubt and questioning his assumptions, Darwin exemplified how intellectual virtues can lead to better decision-making. The chapter underscores the importance of deliberately cultivating these virtues. For example, engaging with diverse perspectives broadens understanding, while reflecting on cognitive biases reveals areas where personal beliefs may distort judgment. Robson also stresses the necessity of prioritizing truth-seeking over the need to be right, as this mindset underpins continuous learning and growth. To operationalize these virtues, Robson suggests strategies such as seeking out challenging viewpoints, practicing self-reflection, and fostering environments that encourage questioning and critical debate. He discusses how structured techniques like pre-mortem analysis and the red team approach dedicated to identifying flaws in ideas can institutionalize intellectual humility. These practices not only enhance individual thinking, but also drive organizational and societal progress. True wisdom lies in knowing we might be wrong. The role of emotions. In this chapter, David Robson explores why emotional intelligence is just as important as a high IQ for making good decisions and avoiding common mistakes. He argues that while being smart can help us achieve success, it's emotional intelligence, our ability to understand and manage emotions, that keeps us from making foolish choices or misjudgments. Robson explains that emotional intelligence affects how we think, interpret situations, and interact with others. It helps us stay grounded, make better decisions, and understand the emotional factors at play in difficult situations. Without emotional intelligence, even very smart people can fall into what Robson calls the intelligence trap, where overconfidence, poor self-awareness, or ignoring emotions leads to bad decisions. The book shares real-life examples and studies showing how people with emotional awareness are better at avoiding mistakes caused by emotions like frustration or anger. For instance, recognizing when we're upset can stop us from making rash choices. Emotional intelligence also helps us see things from other people's perspectives, which improves problem solving and teamwork. Research backs this up, showing that groups with higher emotional intelligence work together more effectively and come up with better ideas. Robson also emphasizes that emotional intelligence isn't just useful for individuals, it should be part of how we learn and grow. Schools and workplaces can benefit from teaching emotional skills alongside academic or technical knowledge. This balance of intellect and emotional understanding can help us avoid the traps smart people often fall into, like overthinking, ignoring others' feelings, or letting biases cloud our judgment. Emotional intelligence turns knowledge into wisdom. Thinking in systems. Systems thinking is a critical skill for understanding complex, interconnected problems. It helps us see how different parts of a system influence one another and how these interactions affect the larger whole. Instead of addressing issues in isolation, systems thinking encourages us to consider the bigger picture and how different factors are linked. David Robson highlights the 2008 financial crisis as a failure of systems thinking. Policymakers and financial institutions focused narrowly on specific aspects of the economy while ignoring the broader connections between different sectors. This lack of perspective led to cascading failures, showing the dangers of ignoring how small actions or decisions can have ripple effects throughout a system. Robson emphasizes that systems thinking requires the ability to recognize patterns and anticipate how changes in one area might affect others. For example, he introduces the concept of feedback loops, which can either stabilize or destabilize a system. A positive feedback loop, like a snowball rolling downhill, can amplify problems if left unchecked, while a negative feedback loop can help maintain balance. Mapping relationships. Visualizing how different elements of a system connect can make it easier to spot potential problems or opportunities for improvement. Thinking in scenarios. Considering what-if situations helps us prepare for unexpected outcomes and reduce blind spots. Understanding delays and trade-offs. Recognizing that some effects take time to show up and that every decision involves compromises can lead to better long-term planning. Robson argues that systems thinking is not just a tool for solving technical problems. It's also essential in everyday decision-making. Whether managing a team, addressing environmental challenges, or making personal choices, this mindset helps us approach problems holistically. It trains us to look beyond immediate results and consider the broader impact of our actions. Seeing the bigger picture requires stepping back from the frame. The science of wisdom. In this chapter, Robson explores wisdom as a skill distinct from intelligence and essential for sound decision-making. Wisdom combines knowledge with emotional regulation, humility, and ethical considerations, making it critical for navigating life's complexities. Unlike intelligence, wisdom focuses on how we apply our knowledge to benefit ourselves and others. Robson outlines the key components of wisdom. Intellectual humility. Accepting the limits of our knowledge and being open to revising beliefs. Empathy and compassion. Understanding and valuing others' perspectives and emotions. Emotional regulation. Managing emotions to maintain clarity and avoid impulsive decisions. Pragmatism and contextual awareness. Balancing idealism with practical considerations, recognizing that solutions often depend on specific circumstances. The chapter discusses research from psychologists like Igor Grossman, who studies wise reasoning. Grossman identifies techniques that foster wisdom, perspective taking, viewing problems from multiple angles, including how future generations or outsiders might perceive them, dialectical thinking, recognizing that conflicting ideas can coexist and that change is constant, reflective thinking, pausing to consider long-term consequences before acting. The chapter also delves into how wisdom can be cultivated. Robson emphasizes mindfulness practices, journaling, and seeking diverse perspectives as ways to enhance reflective thinking. He argues that wisdom is not innate, but a skill anyone can develop with intentional effort. Wisdom thrives where knowledge meets empathy. How to escape the trap. This final chapter ties together the book's themes, offering practical strategies to escape the intelligence trap and make smarter decisions. Robson emphasizes that overcoming cognitive biases, emotional pitfalls, and intellectual arrogance requires intentional effort and lifelong learning. Metacognition. Thinking about your thinking. Regularly question your assumptions, evaluate your reasoning processes, and seek feedback to identify blind spots. Emotional awareness. Recognize how emotions influence your decisions and practice techniques like mindfulness or emotional labeling to regain control. Cognitive diversity. Surround yourself with people who have different perspectives and expertise. Diverse teams are better equipped to identify and correct errors. Learning from failure. Instead of fearing mistakes, treat them as opportunities for growth. Analyze what went wrong and how to improve next time. Slow thinking. Inspired by Daniel Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow, Robson advocates pausing to reflect before making significant decisions. Slowing down helps counteract biases and snap judgments. Wisdom practices. Incorporate the principles of wisdom, humility, empathy, and long-term thinking into daily life. Escaping the trap begins with questioning the path.